Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this. This reminds me of waves. This wave-inspired textured buttercream cake with these fondant, abstract, modern, textural, what do we call these? Pieces. I just think it's a very abstract idea, and I think it just turned out really pretty. So we're starting with a cake that is already, this is one of my Frankenstein cakes. It's already filled, crumb-coated, and ready to be decorated. You would not want to eat this cake because it is definitely past its moisture time frame. Anyway, this is for decorating purposes, so that doesn't matter. So I'm using a royal blue on the bottom, and then this is a turquoise on the top. This is just my crusting American buttercream that I'm using. And I'm kind of doing an ombre, but I know I'm going to add some texture to it. So I am just kind of melding the two colors together. It's not going to matter how that part really looks because it's going to all blend. But just to make sure that I don't have one very strong line of demarcation between the two different colors, I went ahead and used my spatula to kind of blend the two together with that up and down motion, and then scraping it down with my smoothers. Now you just go ahead and fill in any holes that you might have there. It's bound to happen. And then I'm just using my long, this is my long offset spatula on the top. It's just a little easier sometimes to use the long one. And then I'm using a very tall scraper because this is a very tall cake. I can't really, this cake has been in existence for so long I can't even really tell you how many layers is in there. I would say 6 maybe of the 6-inch cakes. And then I'm just using my spatula, my shorter offset spatula, and just doing random lines. Just dragging it up and then dragging it down, kind of in a wavy pattern. And I am dipping it in a glass full of hot water to the side to make sure that that spatula stays clean as you're doing this, because you're going to get both colors on your spatula each time you make a swipe with it. And then if you go right back in and swipe again, you're gonna kind of relocate colors where you don't want them. So I went ahead and popped that in the refrigerator while I did my waves. This is footage from a different cake. The footage I have of how I did those toppers, again, the footage trolls have stolen that footage. I've looked for 2 days, can't find it. So this is the basic technique, just in a smaller scale. I did it on smaller pieces. It's fondant with some Tylose added to it for both of them. And in the ones on the cake that I'm showing you today, I did not do the fold over technique. It's just basically those abstract cutout pieces of fondant, and ruched them together, pleated them together. They have kind of a tapered end at the bottom on some of them. And then I placed them onto, I'll show you in a second here, but I had rolled up some paper towels on a sheet pan with some of the parchment paper on top to place them to dry. And what I did was I put them in the oven on the lowest setting. I wanted to show you how you can do that. It speeds up the process. Put it on the lowest setting. Now, I would say I did it for probably about 40 minutes on the lowest setting, and this is the result I got. Now, they might be a little soft when you first get them out of the oven. I mean, you can feel at the surface is firming up, but on the inside, it might still feel a little soft. Just let them cool. And then you get them dried in a much shorter amount of time than you would if you left them overnight. You can leave them overnight, and I'm showing you there right there that they're right there. I'm showing you right there that they are dry all the way through. And I used the same colors. I used royal blue, just a little bit of it on the bottom. No, I think I just lied to you. I think I used the navy blue on the lighter blue for these, and then the turquoise on the other ones. And I'm going to add some airbrushing to these. Now I made my own airbrush color just using the same colors with the gel food coloring, and added some Everclear to it. Thin it way down to get it to an airbrush consistency. And you can do that, guys. If you don't have the exact color you need, Go ahead and do that with your gel food colorings. Just make sure that it's thin enough that it is an airbrush consistency. Otherwise, your nozzle will continually get clogged up. And I'm just kind of highlighting, the color that they are at this point is the base color. They're going to be totally different by the time I'm done with them. I wanted them to be a lot deeper and a lot more iridescence to them. So this right here is just the airbrush color that I mixed. I'm just kind of highlighting the colors, leaving some of that of the lighter color still there. And then I did go in and used an iridescent white pearl sheen airbrush color that was an airbrush color on top of the whole thing. So that gave them a little bit more iridescence. Now I'm just attaching these with buttercream. The cake is nice and firm and chilled. And I put some buttercream on the back, and I'm just using toothpicks to hold them in place because these pieces are not necessarily light in weight. They're going to need some support while they're drying. If you want to, to attach pieces like this to fondant, they attach a little easier just with some water. But since we're doing them on buttercream, we're just going to need to allow them some time to firm up in the refrigerator with the toothpicks as support. And to remove any excess, I just use my brush, just a regular paintbrush, to remove any of the buttercream that kind of spills out from underneath. Because when you push it onto the cake, it can kind of displace some of that buttercream that you don't necessarily want to be seen. Now, I kind of had laid these out in a pattern on my table before I attached them. So I had a base idea of how I wanted them arranged. And you do have to keep in mind the curvature of the cake. That's part of the reason that I dried them on, I guess you could say baked them and dried them on the rolled up paper towels, is to allow for the curvature of the cake and to give some extra motion to it at the same time. So we're going to have a lot of toothpicks here, but don't worry, we will remove them when we're done. Now don't be afraid. If you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can't place the next piece because it's not going to actually match up the way I thought it would, don't be afraid to move them. You can move them and relocate them. Now I'm just adding some gold. You know me, got to add some gold. This is just gold luster dust mixed with Everclear. And made it another, consistency that will thin enough to go through your airbrush. The metallics will clog up your airbrush a little bit more. You might have to actually go ahead, and if it gets plugged up and you have the color in your airbrush still, put your finger over the tip of the airbrush, pull the trigger, and it pushes anything that's clogged up in the tip back out through. That's a good way to kind of clear out your airbrush. Now you could go in and airbrush the backs of those pieces. If you're worried about your cake being seen from the back, go ahead and just touch that up also. And I'm just using a little fluffy brush to add some more gold throughout those textured lines. Just a little bit abstractly. And I did feel like it needed a little bit of gold leaf, edible gold leaf, so I'm adding that at the very tail end just with a fan brush. You could do chunkier if you want to. That's totally up to you. I just wanted kind of just some brighter flecks throughout where I had the more muted, just dry brushed on gold dust. And I did add some of that gold around the top too, and a little bit throughout the middle. Just kind of abstractly throughout the entire thing. Gold to me is just that added touch of something special that almost every cake needs, in my opinion. Honestly, not every cake needs it, but for my videos, I tend to do a lot of gold or metallic. It's just my personal taste. And then the cake had been chilled in the refrigerator for a good hour, and I'm just spinning those toothpicks, just kind of twisting them out as to not disrupt anything. It's fairly secure, but just to make sure, if you twist it, instead of pulling them straight out, it also keeps that buttercream from being pulled off the cake. So here's our finished product. Isn't that amazing how the lighting changes between my camera and my filming camera? This is what it looked more like in person. So I hope you liked it. I hope you got something from it. Hope you got something that you can use. And we'll catch you on the next one.